Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. Today, we are going to learn about healing harmonies and how music can transform your mind, and maybe a little bit of swearing. Stick around. Here we go. Let's go. Blue tongue. Good morning, Giants. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants TV. I'm Ryan Morris, co-creator of Wake Up with Giants TV, a tribe of giants and 12 Journeys Coaching. And I'm here with Nicholas T. Smith, the author of The Giants and the Smalls and co-creator of the Other Things Mentioned. And I know you're probably wondering how long this show is going to be. It's going to be about as long as a blue-tongued lizard. It can go for about this long today. It's a pretty long show. It's an exciting show. Yeah. We might break a nose and set it ourselves. We don't know. This is going to be an awesome show. I'm so excited. If you haven't gone to our website, that's what it's called. I'm like, hey, I got this, Nick. This is easy. Our website, giantsandsmalls.com. Take the giant quiz. You can see what kind of giant you are. Look, it's right there. I even have prompts.
I know.
Take the giant quiz at giantsandsmalls.com. And now Nick will introduce our guest.
You know what we need is a bouncing ball. Like
we do, yeah. We'll sing along. This is sing along. Hey, well, that works perfect for our show.
It does. Well, bienvenidos a Despierto con Gigantes, donde exploramos los secretos de una vida grandiosa a través de las historias inspiradas de nuestros invitados. That's the Spanish version of it. So joining us today is Michelle Blood, a former rock singer turned affirmation guru. Michelle's life took a transformative turn following a serious car accident, leading her to the healing power of affirmation songs, where music meets positive messaging to touch the soul. Having made an impact in over 26 countries and with a series of inspiring books and programs, Michelle stands as a beacon of hope and transformation. Her journey, both spiritual and professional, showcases how music and affirmations can shape a fulfilling and conscious life. And today, Michelle is here to share her wisdom and experiences, inviting us to explore the power of the mind and spirit. Get ready for a conversation filled with inspiration and transformation. Welcome to Wake Up with Giants, Michelle.
Thank you, guys. Wonderful to be here.
Good to have you. So
this is a serious show, Michelle.
This is a serious show. Yeah, no joking around. We've only got this much room for that.
Yeah.
So as much as a
maybe this much.
Lizard.
How big was the fish?
How big was the fish? What kind of hoop snake was that again?
How big was your truck?
Well, our vision with these shows is to inspire others through your story and your journey and your philosophies, their own potential. So we want to help people to see that they're equipped with giantness, and then show them ways to really express that and bring that out in the world. And we usually start in your world with a point in your life where you thought you were somebody else, where you lived somewhat non-consciously. You lived in a world maybe you were taught to live in a way you were taught to live it. And so you went along believing that was you, and then something happened that changed everything. And so do you mind kind of diving into that?
No, that's fine. I was singing on TV since the age of 5. I actually sent in a letter at the age of 5 to the TV station to say I wanted to come and audition to be on their kids show. And they could see it was a child's writing. My mother didn't know anything about it. My father didn't know anything about it. They didn't even know that I liked to sing. Well, sort of, with the Estedvit, with the nuns sometimes, but they thought I was shy. But once I was up on that stage, my parents absolutely freaked out. They couldn't believe it. So that's how I started. And then after, many years of attempting to get the right sort of bands together, I managed to put together a great band. We had a great record contract and doing videos, and my life was all about rock and roll. I was the lead singer, the songwriter, the manager of the band, until we got Andrew McManus, who was doing tons of big names in Australia. So we ended up getting big management as well. And he was big. He's this big. Yeah. Anyway, and we at one stage we toured for about 7 years nonstop. So I was extremely focused. I looked after my voice. I didn't talk during the day at all. We didn't have cell phones back then. I used to have to call my agent they'd know it was me by knocking on the phone. Because I'd have to rest my voice every day because I had to sing for hours every night.
Holy cow, yeah.
And we never, ever blew out a gig, not once. So we, ended up singing to at least, playing to at least between 2 and 6,000 people a night, depending on how big the venue was. Because back in those days, the venues were huge in Australia. Really, really beautiful venues. When I first came to Los Angeles and I went to check out all the famous venues, they're just like little matchboxes. I'm like, where's the big venues, you guys? Anyway, so my life was, I loved what I was doing. We were becoming more and more popular. It was really, really rough. It's very, very rough, especially for a girl to be on the road in Australia. I mean, I think it was, there was another female singer who used to sing I Touch Myself. Do you remember her? The Divinals. Anyway, her and I there's some book of something that says her and I did more gigs than any other female artists in Australia to the roughest places in Australia. So, yeah, it took a long time to get the right sort of guy. And all the guys in my band, I'm 5 foot, nothing. That's it, And back then I probably weighed 90 pounds if I was soaking wet. And they were all over 6'2". So it was quite funny. But yeah, I had a car accident and that's when everything changed.
Let's talk about that. So your life is going the way it's going. You're into music since 5 years old, right? You think that's your life. You think that's who you are, that way of being. It's a hard life. You're going to these big venues. Life is going pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And then the car accident, I'm going to pull you down so I can see you completely here, if that's all right. Right, I don't want to adjust. Oh. And so, yeah, we don't want to cut off your head there. But so you have this car accident, and tell us about that car accident. What did that do, and what, excuse the pun here, what impact? That's not really the right word for it. Did that make on your life?
Well, it did. It really did. It's like the worst thing you could ever imagine for a female singer who's rocking out all over the stage, jumping up on top of speakers. And I mean, a very, very entertaining singer and dancing all night. And how was, this car accident, how could that be the best thing that ever happened to me? But it was. And the reason is I was with a truck driver. We were going from Brisbane to Sydney, which is about 14 hours in a truck. And we had all the musical equipment. Just as we got to Sydney, the truck driver fell asleep at the wheel. And as the passenger, the way it went into a telephone pole, a lot of the musical equipment that was in the back of the truck went into me. So I was in that hospital for months and months and months with never knowing each long operation, never knowing if I was going to make it through that or not. And, but that is where my life changed, was in that hospital. Would you like to know more?
Yes. Yeah. No, we're good. We're complete. Let's go ahead and wrap up. Are you kidding? Yes, we want to know more.
Yeah. So, so people were giving me things to listen to, audiobooks, and it was all sort of metaphysical. And I was not into that sort of thinking because I was already very positive, very happy person, but very strong-willed. Sometimes the guys in the band would call me Till of the Hun because I was really, really so, if no one could have a drink during the night.
Yeah.
I said, if any of you are out of tune, we'll all be fired. So I was very strict. If it was a guy who was talking to them like that. They'd probably just go, "Oh, good on you, Mick." But as a woman, it was
you'd have a good fight, and you'd be done.
The Hun.
Right. Watch out for her. Yeah.
So, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill is a book that was written in the 1920s, and it was all written about millionaires in America, male, and that is the book that changed my life. You think to yourself, how in the hell, what? Female, not American. I didn't like any of the book, first of all, except for one chapter. I wasn't interested in Henry Ford and all those other guys who made money doing whatever they did. I wanted the chapter where it was Earl Nightingale speaking about Napoleon Hill's little son who was born deaf. And Napoleon Hill would go into his little infant son's room every night and say, "You can hear perfectly. You can hear perfectly. You are strong. You are loved. You are kind. You are compassionate. You can hear perfectly. You're intelligent." I mean, for years. And the little boy ended up getting 30% of his hearing by the time he was 3. He went to a normal school by the time he was 5, went on to become one of the richest entrepreneurs in the hearing aid industry. So it's like, but when you hear something, I'd never heard about autosuggestion, which we call affirmations these days. When you hear something you've never heard before, but in the marrow of your bones, it's true. It just rings true. You just know. So I thought, oh my gosh, I have willed myself all of my life to create the life that I've got, and the sort of band I wanted that drummer. I was going to steal him from that band, and I could always do it.
Yeah.
And so it was really fascinating. So I believed it. I said, okay, so I've been doing that unconsciously, I think, my entire life, just willing myself, taking massive action and willing myself. So Napoleon Hill said an affirmation has to be emotionalized for it to work. Now, guys, remember, this is Napoleon Hill, 1920s. They didn't have neuroscientists proving scientifically now that these things that he was talking about are actually true.
He was talking into a cone. Right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Like Charlie Brown almost.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it was amazing because he said, if they're not emotionalized, they won't go into the treasury of your subconscious mind, because the subconscious mind will create whatever you think about, whatever you emotionalize. So I said, okay, well, I want to be healed. So I said, okay, I am healed. I know I am. I love myself. I am my friend. Because none of those things were true. It was absolute BS. Because I wasn't healed. I didn't know if I'd ever be healed. I didn't really love myself. I mean, I think if I could have moved, I would have taken tablets to go to sleep forever. I was in such agony and so depressed, thinking, if I can't go on stage again, what am I going to do? And so I am healed. I know I am. I love myself. I am my friend, over and over again. Nothing worked. So what was happening was the doubting mind, which they've proven now, once it does not believe what you're saying, it won't go into your subconscious mind. So you're not implanting a new positive, successful thought that will create a new positive, successful healing. So I stopped doing it because I just didn't believe it. Doctors are coming in and next operation could be about 17 hours and blah, blah, blah. And you might end up walking like a duck. Australian doctors don't care what they say to you. It's like, if you do walk again, they're I love the doctors. God bless the doctors that worked on me. I love you guys. It's just, bedside manner, not so much in Australia. Anyway, so one day I just said, I'm going to sing them. I'm going to sing them. I'd asked people to look for affirmation songs, but there wasn't any such thing. So I just got a little tape recorder. I got them to get me a cassette like I always did. And for people, you can Google it if you don't know what a cassette is.
That's going back to the rotary phone days, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And so pre-fax machines.
Yeah.
That's how young I am.
Ducks do get a bad rap, right?
Yes.
So I used to write my songs that way. Whenever I got a song idea, I stole that idea from Mick Jagger, because he said there would never be anything like Satisfaction if I didn't have a little tape recorder, because I got the melody and anyway, that's what I used to do.
You'd capture it, right?
You capture it so you don't forget it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I just started singing, I am healed, I know I am. I love myself, I am my friend. Over and over and over again until I filled up the tape. And that is what healed my body. But I had no intention of going out there in the world and giving people affirmation songs. That would be so uncool for a rock singer. But that's what healed my body.
So uncool. Like a waddling duck. Like not cool at all.
I'll just
how interesting. Like that. Okay, the belief system. And I want to hang on this for a little bit. You know, what we believe about ourselves. And that goes back to that non-conscious journey of who we think we are. You know, in our 12 journeys, the non-conscious is the first journey, because when you understand that we have all this programming going on, then you start to realize I can shift that. And then you start to learn how to do that. And the challenge is it's so pervasive and persistent that, I mean, it resists anything that's not that. So here's this thing that's good for you. It's positive. It's powerful. You've learned about it. And it's like, nah, that's bullshit. That's embarrassing. You know, we're rock stars. We're not that. Affirmations, that's for goofy people, right?
Sounds too simple, right?
Well, that's what I mean. I mean,
right?
There's no bridge. It's like, you know, I mean, I ended up doing affirmation songs in a more sophisticated way. But the first affirmation songs I ever wrote are still the most popular in the world. The Magnet to Money song has been downloaded millions and millions of times all over the world. It's just insane, you know, how I see my weekly Apple stuff, and I'm just like, that's crazy. So many people Shazamming that song. You know?
Yeah, right.
Like, what is going on? But anyway, what happened was when I got out of the hospital, a whole lot of press came to interview me because my healing was pretty miraculous. Even the doctors said, we can't say miraculous, but it is amazing. She can walk again properly. She's on high heels again. You know, it's like, this is all crazy. Anyway, so I got a couple of guys that I worked with to go into a studio with me, and I wrote, I don't know, at the time about 20 affirmation songs just for me and the guys, because the guys were really into it. They said, no, this is great, because then we can all become even more successful and get a tour maybe in Europe or something, you know?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I just wanted it for our own consciousness. But what happened was, with all this publicity, and of course the rock singer's never going to say, you know, like how many female rock singers does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
One, while the whole world revolves around her.
It's just a really slow process. Yeah. It's daytime by the time it's in. You're like, oh, hey, look at that.
Yeah. So anyway, so from that, because of the TV interviews and rock magazine interviews, promoters were coming out of the woodwork who they came to me and they said, we would love you. We're gonna do this tour with Dr. Deepak Chopra and Wayne Dyer and Stuart Wilde, and we want you to sing in between them and talk a little bit about your healing. We think it'll be great publicity for people to get to know these American people and English guys, Stuart. And I said, no, you know, who are they? I'd never heard of them. That wasn't in my, you know, anywhere in my trajectory.
Right.
know? And so they offered me so much money, more money than I would make in 2 years as a singer, you know, because the amount of money that we made per gig, the lighting guy, the sound equipment, you have to hire the truck, you have to pay the agent's fee. I mean, we made about 50, maybe $75 each a week, if that, you know.
You know what I just pictured is in the movie Nacho Libre when they lose and the guy gives them money and they're like, what's this? He's like, money. We all make money, even when you lose. And then they're out spending the money on corn and all that. You know, that's how I picture the rock star life is like money. we get money? Like, that's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I remember I'm going to name drop, but that's okay.
Yeah.
We were in Melbourne. You're talking about Melbourne before.
Yeah,
And
Melbourne.
we did a gig with InXS. And, we were their support band. And the road crew came back to the hotel and they said, "You'll never guess what just happened." And I said, "What happened?" Because road crews are, we had to pay. You've got to have a great sound guy and a great lighting guy. So they're paid more than anybody. Anyway, They said Michael Hutchins went into the hamburger joint we were at, and because we'd met him at soundcheck, and asked to borrow some money because he was starving. He wanted a hamburger.
No way.
That was before InXS became really famous, obviously.
Holy cow. That's crazy, right?
Yeah. But anyway, so that's how it happened. And then I said yes. And they said, "Oh, and, sell the CDs at the back of the room." And I said, "What CDs?" "With your affirmation music." And I said, "What? No, I'm not selling it. That's just, And they said, "Oh, no, people are going to love it." So I made 500 for the first gig in Adelaide, Australia, and 3,500 people were there at that gig. And I was backstage with Deepak Chopra. Didn't know who he was. And he said, "Oh, I'm enjoying your singing." And I said, "Oh, yeah. Hi, how are you? And what's your name?" And he just laughed and he said, "You don't know who I am?" And I said, "No." Anyway, at dinner each night after the gigs, they'd all have a big laugh about the fact I didn't know who any of them were. So I'm not fawning over them. "Oh, Wayne Dyer," Anyway, so
I'm tuning in, Wayne Dyer. I'm tuning in.
Yeah. Right? So the first day, by the lunchtime break, I was sold out of the CDs. See, they made 50% of. They would, they sold them, but they gave me 50% and they made 50%. And I just couldn't believe it. I just said, "This is absolutely friggin' insane." Absolutely insane.
All the stuff that you've been working for, right? Just to recap real quick here, is you had a trajectory for your life that you had set out on that was your trajectory, your way of doing it. And then you have this accident and it shifts the direction of everything and things start going the way you couldn't even imagine. So there really was you going with it rather than you creating it. Because on the one hand, you're controlling how it goes and what's right and what fits in, and you're very restrictive on who can do what and how much you can talk and sing. And then you have this accident and none of that's happening. And all of these miracles are happening, right? And you can't even explain it. You're like, "They're going to pay me to sit at the back of the room and get 50%. I'll do that."
Yeah. So
right?
I would sing in between them and talk a little bit. But the thing that really made a huge difference was when I worked with Bob Proctor for the first time in 91. And his promoters said, "You're having a singer." And
is that the same as 91?
91.
Just kidding.
Sorry? On my accent.
Your accent, yes. I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So we're good.
So at the break it was an evening show in Sydney at the Four Seasons, which was the Regent back then. Anyway, Bob said, "I did not want a singer. I did not want you to be singing at my seminars." And I said, "G'day, Bob. Nice to meet you too, mate." And he said, "But let me finish. He said, "But I'm so glad that I did." He said, "Because I've never seen anything like it." Because we put the lyrics up on the screen and everyone would get up and I'd get them up on stage dancing and singing along the affirmations. And I guess the sort of people that want to go to motivational events like this sort of thing. So they loved it and they knew who I was already. So it was sort of like, I guess I was a bit of a circus act for them, but at the time. But he loved it so much. He said, "I want to work with you all over the world. I want to write songs with you." He said, "I don't want to ever do another seminar without you singing." And we would end up doing, I would end up getting musicians on stage with me. I ended up living in Kuala Lumpur, running his business because I'm a marketer. I've been marketing my bands and putting on live events for years. So I knew how to put on a seminar. I was like, that'd be easy compared to putting on a rock show,
Yeah.
So he was so impressed that there was lighting and music when he came on stage, and I wrote songs for him, and we ended up creating so many programs and products and books we wrote together and songs. And but I did give my band 6 months notice before I left Australia because I realized I was just going to stay overseas and I was just going to keep traveling. But that is you would think that would be it, right? She's making all this money, selling all these products, working with the great and late Bob Proctor. Love him so much. Love his wife. She's incredible people. And but that wasn't it. That wasn't the big change. That's yet to come. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Quick commercial break, right?
Right.
That's amazing to me, because I think this is a challenge. I'm definitely in the energy of this, even right now with the creations of the giants and the smalls and the tribe of giants and Wake Up with Giants TV. We have all these ideas of the way we think it's going to go, and then it doesn't, right? And so there's this surrender to the way it needs to go. And some of that is even in the stepping back a little bit more, right? Energetically, you step back and you really look at things and you think, where do we want to go from here? And there's a challenge in the mind around surrender and letting go and letting things flow the way they need to flow. And so I'm super curious, if that wasn't the big thing, what the big thing is, right? Because I thought that was pretty fantastic. But what is the big thing? Like, what happened next?
Well, I think, first of all, with the affirmation music, the lyrics, the affirmation go into the left hemisphere of the brain, and the melody goes into the right side. So you can't get a song out of your head, even if you try. I mean, I used to write jingles for extra money, which I would never tell anyone, because, again, that would be too uncool. And I couldn't believe how much they would pay me to sing or to write a jingle. It was because you can't get it out of the product out of your head once you've got the song in your head. And so that's why you don't need to emotionalize an affirmation when it's done by like this simple little jingle affirmation song, because it just stays there forever. And that's where you want it to go. And so because I'm doing all of these gigs and meeting amazing people, and I started writing books within the first 6 months of working with Bob, because he said, write a book. And I went, no problem. Didn't even know how to type. And so what happened was, everyone's got a frequency. This is a fact now. It's not woo-woo land anymore, everybody. It is scientific fact. We have a frequency, a speed of vibration, and you can feel it. It's palpable. You can go into a room, and if people have been fighting in that room, you can feel it. Everyone's psychically connected. You can feel energy, and we are that energy. And so because I was doing all this positive stuff and making all this money, and my oscillation was going so fast, and I just couldn't stop creating. I was just like on speed, which I'd never been on, by the way. I wasn't one of those rock singers, couldn't wreck your voice. No. Anyway, and so I said to Bob one day, this heart glow, I've got this heart glow. It's like I just feel so much love. I just don't know where to put it. And, and Linda said, don't put it at Bob, his wife. But I had this heart glow. I had this love. Yeah, I know. It's funny.
Just keep your heart love away from my husband.
Yeah, she did say that. Yeah, but anyway, just kidding. But anyway, so Bob said to me, he said, that is your heart chakra. It's been activated a little bit. And he said, that's very unusual for that to happen. He said, mine was activated quite a long time ago when I had my mentor. And he said, you need to find an enlightened teacher. And I said, what's that? What's an enlightened teacher? And he said, someone who's awakened, like the Buddha, like Yogananda. And I said, who's Yogananda? I'd heard of the Buddha. But to me, there was only Jesus Christ, because I was born a Catholic, and I actually loved Catholic school and nuns and everything. I was one of those weirdos who loved Jesus and used to go to mass every morning as a little kid. So I had sort of that attraction to the divine, but I didn't know that there was any such thing in life. I said, but aren't they all dead now? And he said, no, there's always enlightened teachers around. So it took me 14 years. But after I read Autobiography by a Yogi, my life changed. Yogananda, Paramahansa Yogananda's autobiography just changed my life. It just was incredible. And I believed it. And I just started searching for a teacher. Eventually, I found an enlightened teacher. It took me 14 years and traveling all over the world to find one. And I went off the grid for 10 years of my life. No books, no seminars, no nothing. And just studying and just studied and meditated and traveled where, she would be like, we've got to go to Egypt. Okay, I'd be there. We're going to go to Bhutan. I'd be there. Wherever, last minute stuff. I mean, it was really, you really had to stay on track to be able to stay with an enlightened teacher. And that's what happened. And eventually I had my own awakening. She stopped teaching and now I teach. And that is the biggest thing that ever happened to me, because when you're awakened, you think it's only for saints. No, people that I know, very rare, there's some around the world that are irreverent, they're funny, they curse, they are just free. They're free beings because their ego has left the building. Hello, Elvis has left the building. Thank God for that. No more revolving lights, rock singer.
So that awakening, this is a different awakening. So you have a level of awakening inside of the music. So you have this full experience, and then you go to this other higher level of awakening. To me, it just is, it speaks to the idea of the giant's journey never ends. Oh. Like there's just one, mountains without tops. There's no limit, only the limits that we set. And so you have this next level awakening, like you've gone to a certain level. So you've already gone through the giant's journey once, and then you have this whole new cycle starting again at the awakening of, no, there's more in me. Right. And you discover that. So as you awaken and you leave that old life behind, because that was a memory and an experience. And now you step into this new life and you're learning something totally new. Were there uncertainties that came up? Was it just an easy ride all the way through from there? Like,
no. I mean, if anyone tells you it's easy, they're trying to sell you something, because it's not easy. It's very, very hard, because the ego wants to fight with you every step of the way. When you're trying to silence the mind and meditate, it's nearly impossible. But if you've got a teacher who's enlightened, they're transmitting light to you at the same time. So they're sort of helping meditate you. But it's still, you go through dark nights of the soul, and because you start remembering things that you did that were shitty and you feel bad. See, a dark night of the soul isn't depression. A dark night of the soul is when you have a memory, because you've got this beautiful diamond that's starting to be polished. All the experiences and everything that you've ever done have been clogging you, so you can't remember. You don't remember, because most people don't want to know about their shadow side. They'd rather complain about somebody than look at themselves in the mirror. And so having to look at yourself in the mirror and look at your shadow side, as this is being polished, memories and emotions start coming up of my first dark night of the soul, it was when I was only 3.5. I did something, this little girl next door, she was like 8 months old or something. I don't know, maybe just starting to walk, maybe a year. And my sister was a real bitch. Sorry, Tara, you're a bitch still. But anyway, I'm just bearing witness and telling the truth. Anyway, and my older sister used to always pull down my diaper, and embarrass me when I was a little girl. And so I'm playing with this little girl, and I pulled her diaper down, which we call nappies in Australia. And she started screaming and crying, and she was so upset. And I pulled it straight back up, and I didn't even know I had a memory of that. My first dark night of the soul was crying my eyes out, realizing how much I'd hurt this little girl, because I knew how hurtful it was to have that done to me. And that was my first one when I was 3. And so I immediately started praying for that girl, wherever she is in the world right now, this little baby girl. And, whatever she's doing, or she's being reborn, I hope she's prosperous and happy, and started praying for her. So it's really, really interesting. When you're depressed, it's all about you. But when it's a dark night of the soul, it's because you feel bad about something you've done to someone that caused any sort of pain. That is a dark night of the soul. And I was actually teaching at a seminar once, and some nurses were there, psychiatric nurses actually, and they found it so fascinating. So they started putting it in their curriculum about the difference between, I helped them write up this letter to put in their curriculum to talk about what a dark night of the soul is compared to a patient who's depressed. Because if you're depressed, all you've got to do, and they've proven this, is go out and help somebody else. They did a whole test with these patients that were super, super in bad way, depressed for years. And they made them go out and start feeding the poor and making sandwiches. And 98% of them were healed because they got out of their pity party. I feel so bad. I'm not worthy, blah, blah, blah. It's all ego. People think when they're saying to themselves they're not worthy and they're not good enough, that's not ego. It's really ego, because everybody's worthy and everybody's good enough and everybody can achieve anything in their life that they want to achieve. It's possible, but you have to begin to oscillate at a faster frequency, which is where the affirmation songs come in, and all you've got to do is listen.
I want to hit on that depression point. We talk about in our trainings, the Lisa Feldman Barrett, she's a top researcher on emotions. And she says that people feel depressed when they're not living up to their own ideals. And so when you get people out of their own ideals into serving others, they step immediately out of that measurement, right? That worthiness, deservingness. And so that measurement goes away because now they're no longer focused on them. They're focused on others. And I could see where that would work as a tool. Is like, you want to stop being depressed, stop thinking about yourself. And it's easy to say, but it's easier to do by going and actually serving somebody else. Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like this community has been that it's allowed me to come in here and express and serve others through what we do. And it takes me out of my own measurement of myself, and there's still times I revert back to that, but if I can remember to just come out here and serve, then that all goes away. I'm not depressed when I'm on the show. I'm feeling pretty good usually. So
God, we're going deep now, fellas.
We are. This is Dark Night of the Soul. I love this because it really is like every time you go on a journey and you stretch beyond where you currently are and you set an intention to go further, then it doesn't matter who you are. You're going to revert back to non-conscious ways of being or previous lives, so to speak. And you're going to go back and you're going to reflect on those and you're going to have to overcome those to elevate. And it doesn't matter what level you're at, you're going to face your past. And you're going to have to look at it and face it and work through it to elevate. And so it would be amazing if you just go level to level to level without having to do that. But there's a cycle of going back through just at a higher level, maybe, of really facing that past, whatever. And that might be an elevated past, right? It might not be as bad as it was in the beginning. And it's because you've advanced, right? Do you agree with that? Or is there another view you want to share around that?
Oh, no, absolutely. I mean, I wrote one of the books I wrote with Bob Proctor is called Become a Magnet to Money Through the Sea of Unlimited Consciousness. And the second half of the book, which is Through the Sea of Unlimited Consciousness, is all about the different levels of consciousness, where you're oscillating at and how to tell where you're at. Talking about sex and what that can do to you if you're not doing it correctly, or not, if you're being obsessed or think you're in love, or what it really is, romantic love compared to spiritual love, what depression is compared to, all the different levels right through to enlightenment. But one of the things that's really funny to me is when people have read it and they say, oh, I'm at least at a level 3, and they're not even at a level 1 yet. They're just not aware of themselves at all. And I say, did you really read it? Well, there's really 10,000 levels before you reach enlightenment, but I just put it into 5 levels just so people could start getting an idea and look at themselves to see where they're at. If you do this, you're still sleepwalking. But if you're reading this, at least you're waking up a little bit to the fact that you're even reading this or listening to the audio book. So 100%. But anyway, Nick.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
The awakening is key, because without the awakening, then you just continue to do what you've always done, because you do it non-consciously, you do it automatically. And so that awakening is essential, and to have different tiers of awakening just speaks to the giant's journey. We say that, the giants still take small steps. They're just bigger. And so when we look at your growth, it's like you're still taking small steps. You're just doing it at a bigger level than some people might be doing. But that's also available to them. It's not that you're doing it and you just took all the giantness. Thank you, Michelle. You just took all the giantness in the world. That's not how it works. There's unlimited giantness for every one of us. And it really comes down to awakening, because until you awaken in some degree, then you won't go through the journeys.
Yeah.
You'll just stay where you're at. You'll just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
It's being mindful. It's the Buddhist. It's having awareness. It's like I say to people, if you could just stop complaining and understand why you're complaining, if you can go like 30 days without complaining, because when people are complaining, they're covering up something that they're afraid of. They're afraid. It's either because they're complaining because they're afraid of not getting something that they want, or they're afraid of losing something that they already have. And so I say to them, even if you're halfway through a complaint, if you can go, whoop, stop. What are you complaining about that lady in the shop for? Why are you complaining about something that's on a newspaper? You don't even know those people. Oh, yes, that Hugh Grant. Like, I was with this lady.
Well, that Hugh Grant.
I love Hugh Grant. But anyway, this lady was complaining about him because English humor is very irreverent. And he was being irreverent. He was on a TV show and someone was saying, oh, what did you think of Julia Roberts? What did you think of? And he'd say something funny or irreverent about how much he didn't like them. And she'd go, what a bastard he is. And I said, look, you don't understand English humor, that's all. And you don't even know him.
You need more English and Australian friends, and then you'll see like the world's a lot more relaxed than we are here in America.
One of the things I used to say to Americans when I first came here to live, to work out if I'm going to like them or not, is, do you like Monty Python? If they said, no, I can't stand it, I'd be like, oh, well, see ya.
Can't be friends.
Good test, actually, right?
Yeah. That's part of the Giants quiz.
We're going to get along just fine. Right?
Do you like Monty Python?
Yeah, I mean, I can sit there verbatim with every movie. You know, just do every line. It's like,
I could do.
Go away, you coward! Run away! You can't run. You've got no legs. I'll bite you.
Flesh wound.
I won't go through it now. But anyway,
right?
The silly walk. I mean, all that stuff.
We've got some friends that are absolutely irreverent from the UK and Australia, and they send stuff, and it just makes me blush. I try not to open it in front of my girlfriend, because then might make her blush too.
But
it's
really?
funny. It's funny stuff.
Don't ever be in a rock band if that'll make you blush.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, I'm loving where this is going because, we do get stuck in our complaining. We get stuck in our justifications. We get stuck in our judgments and our shame and all these things that they keep us in one place, and we're not meant to stay in one place. Nothing about this world is permanent. The only thing that keeps it feeling permanent is our thoughts about it. And that's what makes it not so transient, is because we keep bringing it up. Right. And it's not right or wrong. It's simply what we do. And it keeps us as almost like a placeholder in history of these things. Right. And so when we can start to be mindful of our mindfulness and just be aware of what we're even complaining about, even the awareness of the complaining is enough to shift the complaining.
Oh,
right?
Heavens, yes. I mean, it is extremely powerful and very hard to do. But when you first do it, the first time I did it was many, many years ago. It was I went for 20 days. And so I started again because I wanted to do a full 30 days. So I just started from day one again. And it changed me dramatically. I loved it. What are you complaining about? What are you scared of? It's like,
yeah. But there's power in that. And then to move beyond awareness to acceptance, right? And if you were to look at acceptance, what would you define that as? What is that in your view? Because people hear acceptance and they think, oh, I got to resign to this. I can't do anything about it. But what would you say acceptance is?
Well, it's non-attachment.
Okay.
Because like the Buddhist way of thinking, because was ordained as a Buddhist monk in Bhutan many years ago. But anyway, I know I still look like this, but I am a monk. Just like my teacher, beautiful young American lady that was 10 years younger than me. And I'm like, oh, she wears makeup. She's a monk. Anyway, she's got long hair. Where's the shaved head? Because, I mean, when I was looking for an enlightened teacher, I was looking for a bald Asian guy for sure.
Sinead O'Connor or something, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But anyway, Where was I?
Demi Moore, right?
Non-attachment.
Yeah.
Non-attachment is being open to having all sorts of experiences in life and meeting all sorts of people, but with no control about it, not trying to control any of it. So when you're accepting of something, it doesn't mean that you don't go for your dreams and goals, but you have non-attachment to it. You just accept, okay, I'm here right now and I love myself and I'm going to learn how to do that next thing. I can't do it yet, but I'm not going to put myself down about it. Yeah. I mean, I wanted to do apps, and we've just done this, the world's first video book, and people are raving about it all over the world. Yep. And it's, you know, these things that you don't know how to do. You don't know how to develop apps, or you don't know how to do that, but you learn and you end up attracting people into your life to do it. So there's no such thing as you can't do it. It's just, do you want to do it?
and where are you at in relation to it right now, right? Like, where are you on the map, so to speak? Is that like you are where you are, and it's not a resignation.
Yeah. And it's just, okay, we're going to do it. We don't know how to do it, but who cares? Yeah. You know, they didn't know how to go to the moon once upon a time. You know, I mean, everything's just step by step by step. I just say to people, please, for goodness sake, stop making it so complicated. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Keep it simple and spiritual. And if someone is teaching you something and they're making it sound so deep and complicated, leave the room. They don't know what they're talking about, because everything in life and spirituality, and we're all spiritual beings, is simple. It's not complicated. It's what the world and thoughts trying to make it complicated, trying to take you down rabbit holes of conspiracy theories and all this sort of rubbish, which is just sickness. It just makes people sick. And it's really hard these days because people have got the internet and they go down so many rabbit holes on YouTube. And before they know it, we're going to write a chapter of my book today, but I've been on YouTube all afternoon, because they've gone into, you know, they've slipped into something more comfortable like a coma. Let me just slip into something more comfortable like a coma.
Yes, please knock me out. Yeah, like a weed gummy. Yeah.
Right.
You know, speaking of that, you know, the technology and the delivery continues to change, and I've been playing with AI recently and created an app that speaks in my tone of voice with my framework, and has dialogue just like this. It's amazing. Like, I can have a conversation with the 12 journeys and work it through voice to voice with AI. It blows my mind. Right. What's that?
What is the app called?
It's called Giant GPT. And it's an application that runs through our 12 journey program, but you speak to it. You speak to it voice to voice, and it talks back to you, and it helps you to navigate. Like this morning, I'm doing my work, and it walked me through internal family systems. It walked me through visioning. It walked me through having a conversation with parts of me that are struggling in my framework. And it's like, holy crap, like this is blowing my mind. And so it's like things like this, these advancements allow us to do what we do at just a higher level. Right. And so many people get afraid of them. People are afraid of change, even when it's good for them. And it's like, we get to determine how we use the technologies. We're the ones that put our voice into it, our spirit into it. Like the technology, these things, these creations are just creations, and they can be useful or harmful depending on what we want to put into it or what we want to put out there. Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think, you know, just embracing some of these beautiful things that are happening allows us to advance and do things we never even imagined at a higher level. And so I think, you know, what you're sharing here is you had an amazing life that went to a more amazing life that went to an even more amazing life. Right. And in every case, you had to go through a cycle of growth, of going into the darkness of the soul, right? Planting the seeds, going through the nutrition stage of the rooting, and breaking through the ground to another level and seeing the light and growing, and then leaving your fruit with the world and dropping back into the seeds of another creation at a higher level, right? It's just advancement after advancement after advancement. And I think that's a possibility for everybody that's here or in this world. I think we're all engineered and designed for that. And the only thing that can get in the way is we stay in the ground, right? We never break through.
Well, people think that they're staying, like what you said earlier, Nick, you're always moving. You're either going backwards or forwards. You're never stagnant.
Yeah.
Huh. Ever. You think you're being stagnant, but you're not. You're going backwards. When you think you're being stagnant, you're actually oscillating backwards, and instead of oscillating forward. But it's really, that's why we've created apps as well. And this latest thing that we've done, Manifestation Through the Power of Mysticism, was a book I wrote this year. And then we ended up turning it into a video book. So you get to watch, because we think in pictures. You get to watch all these amazing positive pictures, this video, and you get to listen to me speaking the book, and you get to watch the words scrolling. And then after each chapter, there's one of my affirmation songs with a music video. It's incredible. I've had some best-selling authors, friends of mine, that are just said this is the way people are going to change their consciousness so fast. A video book. Who knew?
Interesting. I'm stuck on this thought of, going backward. And I think the appearance of going backward is there. But what seems in my mind to be happening is that people are continuing to advance. So it feels like you're falling backward, but they're just moving further ahead. And you could keep up with that. You could stay in that flow and that energy of moving forward and growing. But if we stop ourselves, then we feel like we're shrinking in relation to them, but they just kept going. They just kept moving, and we could do the same thing, but we didn't. We just stopped. So it feels like we're getting further behind. And I just think, just at any point you can get up and get moving again. Right.
Yeah. And
wherever you are,
it's interesting because I think what happens is, well, I know what happens is people look at their present circumstances and they think that is telling them where they're moving. And they could be in consciousness really moving ahead, but still have circumstances that look the same, because the outside circumstances, when they change dramatically, but it takes a while for you to see. You're living in the beautiful new house that you've always wanted, but you're not there yet.
Right.
It's like I manifested this beautiful house I live in and in the countryside, and I wrote it down 30 years ago, and then sort of put it aside, but I always knew that I'd live in the countryside, in the mountains, calm, serene. I never said what country it would be in or where in the world it would be, but I just had visioned it and I knew. And then I let it go, non-attachment. And then you get on with your life. So you never look at the circumstances because they do not tell you the truth.
Yeah. And I think we're responsible for the dream and the vision, but not the how or the timing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Can you expound on that a little bit?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's really, really quite fascinating because, the Buddha said 2,500 years ago, we are what we think. Everything we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world. And now people think the Buddha was telling you the secret, with the world. But he was actually saying it in a negative way. And people never read that properly because Buddha wants everyone to have a silent mind so that you can just listen to the voice of God through you, your higher self. And then your intuition will always tell you where to go, where not to go, what not to say. So you don't have any judgment, but you bear witness. You can see for a fact if someone's being an asshole or they're just really sad that day.
Yeah.
So you're just bearing witness without judgment. And so the Buddha was saying you're creating your world through your thoughts. But what he was really saying was, don't do that. Don't do that. Have a silent mind. Be in stillness so that when your thoughts come through, they're from on high. Because a high percentage of our thoughts aren't even our own thoughts. They're just flying through. They sound like they're our own thoughts, but they're from the Maya, from the collective consciousness of this planet. So they sound like they're very personal. Because any thought that is negative about yourself or others isn't your thought. It's coming from the collective consciousness of this planet, floating through into you, and you think it's your thought. Any negative thought is not your thought. It's just not. So remember that, everybody. So stop putting yourself down and putting shit on yourself when you've oh, I'm being so negative. And also don't be afraid of what the world calls negativity. Don't be like, oh, I've got to run away from those people because they're being negative. If you're not a strong enough swimmer, sure, and you're just, learning how to paddle into the world of metaphysics and mysticism and positive thinking.
By nature, we were all strong enough swimmers.
Yes, by nature.
I mean, we wouldn't be here if we weren't strong enough swimmers, obviously. So at some point we are strong enough swimmers. So that's a little dirty there, but we made it here physically because we were strong enough swimmers, which means that we are strong enough swimmers.
Oh, I just got it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That took a little bit. But the truth is,
I told you, monk.
She's Australian.
Yeah, she's got a monk mind. But it's true. Like, we made it here. Every one of us, right?
I didn't get it.
Yeah. So I like to, just think that we are already equipped to be giant because we're already here.
Oh, that is so funny.
I love it.
It's so funny.
I'm glad you got it.
That's
the way my mind thinks, it's like, no, we made it here.
Right.
We made it here. Every one of us. And because we made it here equipped to do anything we can imagine. And that's not a delusion. And it seems to be that people are happier in their delusion anyway. So why not be delusional? Because when we look at reality as it is, we get really sad and depressed at our reality. But when we're delusional, we're not. We're happy. And it's in our delusions that we create the world that we have. And so I think, yes, recognize that you are already a strong swimmer, right? And you're gonna be just fine. Just keep swimming. Like Dora had it right? Just keep swimming.
Right.
Yes, that's going to take on a whole new meaning, right, for you. And I really appreciate what you're sharing here, Michelle, because it's that constant advancement is what you're a demonstration of, is that I'm never done with my growth in my life. And other people might feel like they're falling behind, but it could be that they just stopped moving, right? So get up and get moving again. If you got stuck in your story or your history or your judgments, or your blame or shame or guilt, and you feel stuck in a loop, well, let's step out of that loop and keep growing, right? At any point we can do that.
Yeah. Bob used to call it the terror barrier. And he would say, yeah, you different levels of consciousness, and there's this terror barrier. And he was the first one to say, do it scared, but do it.
Yeah.
Then you'll jump into the creative plane of life where you're always joyful and you're creative, you're creating things all the time. And that's where you want to live. You want to live in the creative plane of life where there's no fear and you're creating, constantly creating whatever it is you want to create. A new body by working out, a book, a website, your own business, an amazing TV show like you guys have got where you're lifting people up. What can I do to lift people up? Okay, so it's good for business as well. You're lifting people up. It's a beautiful cycle of increase and enjoyment where everybody wins. That's the way to live. Amen.
I love that. I love it. And it is Dory, right? Not Dora. It is
Dory from Nemo. Yeah. Dory.
A little different story there.
Yeah.
Michelle,
Where was I?
Yeah. Which is good, man. She really was a great metaphor for life. Like,
she was amazing.
Let's just move forward. Just keep swimming.
With Ellen's voice over. Oh my gosh. Incredible.
Well, you have a gift for the viewers.
Yes.
Will you tell about that a little bit?
Yes. We have a free gift. The book, one of the books that I wrote with Bob Proctor is called New Paradigms. So you're going to get that as an ebook. And my latest album, music album, Create Miracles, Affirmation Songs to Harmonize Your Life. You're going to receive that. And you're also going to receive from the video book, one of my favorite chapters. There's a lot of chapters about enlightenment and consciousness and success, but this one will help anyone start moving up the ladder. It's just called 6 Steps to Achieving Your Goals and Big Vision. And you'll get to watch that video chapter. So you get all that for free if you go to Michelle Blood, Michele blood.com/giants.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. Those are amazing gifts. Thank you so much for that. I'm going to go take advantage of those gifts too. So I think it's beautiful. I love Ryan's hat, be giant. Everything we do is about teaching people to be a giant. It's a metaphor, for our inner greatness, and it transcends everything. Everybody has an understanding of what that means, and it doesn't get in the way of politics or religion or anything else. It's just simply be giant, be your capability, your potential. And so thank you so much for these gifts. I know they're going to help people to do that. Is there anything else go ahead.
Proctor would love this because he used to call me a giant.
Did he?
Yeah. When I was like 95 pounds, 5 foot, maybe, and he'd say, he would say to people, her energy is awesome. She's a giant. She may not weigh much. So
she's a giant.
He would have loved this. He would have loved this.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Anyway, I just think what you guys are doing is amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Thank you.
I love your show. And they used to call, how they used to call Tony Robbins a giant?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So the press in Australia used to call me a miniaturized version of Tony Robbins.
We actually had Becky Robbins on.
And,
yeah, she was she helped create his programs, and she's a giant, just incredible. And I think you two energetically are a lot aligned. And that's what we try and instill in people, is not instill it because it's already in there.
Right.
We try and help them to express it.
Yes.
Because you were born with it.
Yes.
Right?
Yep. Strong swimmers.
But you only had to go this far.
Like a blue tongue lizard.
Ryan, any other thoughts?
Oh, that's a good one. Any other thoughts? Any other thoughts? No. Yeah. Guys, just no matter who, whoever's watching this, know that no matter where you are, change is going to happen. And you make a decision. You make a decision today to say to yourself, thank you, whatever you call God, divine love. Thank you for my beautiful life. Every morning when you wake up, thank you for my beautiful life. And I want you to write down what a beautiful life would look like to you. If you could say sincerely 100%, thank you for my beautiful life. What is a beautiful life to you? Create it by writing it down as if it's already happened. Start doing visuals for it, and just know that we are all this golden tapestry together, and you are never, ever alone. People think you've got to do it on your own, but you don't.
That's beautiful. Brian, other thoughts?
Yeah, just and I didn't speak a ton, but that was mostly because I was laughing and I didn't know how far I could take things, and then Nick talked about swimming.
Well, I took it too far, I think, already. So, yeah.
Forever will be this will be out in public for Michelle
and all the swimmers.
You'll never forget it. All of you swimmers.
You're already champions.
Yeah, right. I was sitting here thinking how connected we all are, and how you watch different things. If you're aware, if you can quiet the mind, and if you can pay attention to what's happening for you as it comes in and through you. You talked about the autobiography of a yogi, and I had just finished for about the 90th time the Surrender Experiment by Michael Singer, and sitting there thinking about that whatever is in control, or I don't know if it's in control, or that wants you to be giant and remember your giantness, the universe, God, source, whatever is out there, they care. They want you to reach your highest potential. They see you already as giant. it's helping you see you as giant. And little things come into my life where it reminds me of that. And you are one of those things. There was so much said today, and I didn't know how much I needed this show today as a reminder, just to like a little bit of put somebody putting their arm around you and just whispering into your ear that just remember who you are and you can do this. You're a giant. You got this. And when you don't, it's okay. You
And
lean
you're a
in.
hell of a swimmer.
You're a hell of a swimmer, right? And I started. I don't know why exactly I started singing on TikTok, just like little duets. I don't have a ton of time lately, and but it kind of helps me decompress. I love music, always have, and then I would put just a message with my music, and I don't aim to be like I don't aim to be the rock star on stage and the solo singer and the things like that, but I love what it does for me, the music, and how powerful it can be in reminding me to be giant, and you did that for me, and I have a feeling that you're going to continue to do that for me and for millions and millions more. And so grateful to make your acquaintance, and to now have another friend that is helping other people, because it's nice to be nice to the nice, as MASH would say, the old show MASH, if anybody watches that. And you are an incredibly kind and nice and loving and giving person. So thank you for sharing that with us today.
Thank you, boys. You're rock stars. You're giants.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, we are. And yes, we want to demonstrate that for others and show them how to do that too. And I'm extremely grateful, Ryan, for your words there, for Michelle, for you being on here and sharing what you did for our viewers. You know, we have such a loyal following of people from all over the world that consistently show up, consistently share. This show wouldn't be what it is without you. And so we're grateful for what you do share, and that you continue to tell other people about their giant potential all over the world. And that's amazing to us. And so I just want to express gratitude for you for being a part of our journey and helping us to spread the message, you know, that we have with those that you love. And so keep showing up, keep sharing this. If you know somebody in your world that could benefit from today's show, send it over to them and tell them why. Right? Tell them why, and invite them to come be a part of the Tribe of Giants on Facebook, and help us to build that community there. So we love you. We're grateful for you. Michelle, thanks again for being on with us. For those that are watching, go make it a giant day, and we will see you in the next episode.
Love you too.